Okay, so the next one, this is one of our very common techniques that we use when we first meet people. It's called 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So, first one is 5 things you can see around the room. So, do you want to give me 5 things you can see?
The monitor, chairs, stand, coffee cup, and juice.
Perfect.
Boom.
All right, so now 4 things you can touch. What are 4 things you can touch right now?
Brownie. My chair, the floor. I don't know, I can touch the flag.
How about that phone in your hand?
Yeah,
There you go.
Boom.
All right, so number 3. Again, this is one I have not done in a while, so I just have to remind myself. 3 things you can hear. What are 3 things that you can hear?
Right now, nothing. I could hear your voice earlier.
Yeah, perfect.
And
So
You can hear the fan coming, the air conditioning.
Yep, I can hear the air conditioner. I hear the fridge running. I can
I
hear.
heard the kitties.
Yeah, I heard
Yeah.
the kitties. We heard her kind of playing with her name tag over there, and I can hear
Called
my
out.
phone just
Fidgeting.
vibrated, so I can hear that. How about 2 things we can smell? What are 2 things you can smell?
Coffee. Brownies.
Perfect.
Perfect.
And 1 thing you can taste. Anybody have anything in their mouth that they can taste right now?
Cinnamon.
Cinnamon. There you go. So now we just gave you 2 tools that you can use right now to help yourself when you're feeling overwhelmed. Those are very simple things you can do to just help bring yourself out. So we were able to get started with you guys by doing that. This is our first presentation with this, so bear
Yes.
with us if things do not go well. My computer not wanting to do anything. Let's see if we can fix that. It's being picky.
There we go.
It's just not letting me skip forward.
Oh, it just did. It was just doing something and then you blacked it out again.
It was
Broken.
slow.
Might just be a little slow today. It's typically
That's
how
okay.
things go. Okay, now I think it's going to work for us.
Ah, yes, I saw it.
Okay, so this is Harvesting Hope. This is a community guide to mental health and crisis services. To start off, what we're going to cover here is why we're here, who we are, understanding mental wellness, recognizing the signs of being in a crisis, our crisis team, which is me and her, and how you can reach us, as well as some community services, and then open questions and answers if you have anything.
And at any time, if you do have like an immediate question and you're afraid you're going to forget, just pop your hand up and we'll try to answer it best we can.
So while we're here to meet the crisis team, talk about mental wellness and why it matters, spotting when someone may need some help, how Plains area and us can help you, and how to reach us, as well as encouraging just general caring conversations. So, who we are. We'll start with me. I'm Ruben DeLeo. I have been on the crisis team since 2022, I believe. I graduated from Ridgeview in 2016. From there, I ended up going to Western Iowa Tech, where I got a degree in general studies with an emphasis in health sciences. I was an EMT throughout that time. I've worked in emergency rooms, ambulances, and then my last tenure before I stepped away from EMS was an EMS director up in Akron. So I did that for about 3 years, and then I stepped aside, left healthcare altogether for a little bit, kind of went through my own mental health journey, and then I found my way here in 2022, and I've been here since. I've worked with Jess at Turning Point, and now I work on our community service crisis team, where we go out and we talk to people and work with them in their homes or wherever they live.
And I'm Jessica Logan. I work at Turning Point in the home there. I'm also part of the crisis services, community services. We also do mobile crisis. I am a veteran. When I graduated Denison in 2005, I joined the Army. I was a truck driver. I am also a former 911 dispatcher. I did that for 10 years. I dispatched in Ida County and in Cherokee. So very familiar with crisis situations. Currently, I am attending BVU at Storm Lake. I am majoring in human services. I have dropped my minor in sociology because I did started my master's program in organizational leadership with an emphasis in human services. So I will graduate with my bachelor's next year, and then in 2027 I'll have my master's degree.
One of the things about the crisis team that we love is we all come from different backgrounds and different
yes.
diversities. She's clearly taken a different route than I did. I've taken a different route than some other people. We have people who may have been former addicts. We've got people who worked with children very much. We have people who work we've got people who are kind of an amalgamation of different things that they've done.
People that come from peer support.
Yep.
We've all been through our own struggles, some of us more than others. So we know what it's like to be down. We know what the stigma means. We know, what it's like to not get the help that you need. So that's what makes us uniquely qualified with not just the written stuff, but just who we are as people and how we came to be in this position.
So our next part here is understanding mental wellness. So what mental wellness looks like. When some people think about being just healthy in general, we talk about, well, our ticker's ticking right, we're breathing okay, we've got all of our arms, our legs, our eyes work, and our nose works. But something some people don't think about is how are our brains working? How do we feel? How do we wake up every morning? Do we want to get up and do stuff? That is also mental wellness and part of your overall health. When we have those problems, some people, we can see when people are sick. We can see when people are maybe have a cold or dealing with allergies and stuff like that. We can see when those things are happening. Mental health, on the other hand, is something that you really can't see. So that's where you really have to think about, how is your life balanced? Are you coping with the stressors of life? Sometimes things get rough, bills get tight, maybe work is frustrating. How are you dealing with those things? And are you able to enjoy the things you love? If you're a sewer, do you like to sew still? If you like to work on cars, are you still wanting to go out and do those kind of things? That's overall all mental wellness. When we're working at our best mental health, that's when we are enjoying life. We're doing the things that we need to do. We're taking care of ourselves.
And when we talk about mental wellness, you can have a bad day. Everybody has bad days. Having a bad day is okay. You can have a bad moment or a bad hour. We're talking about the people who are unable to get out of that. Say your one bad hour turns into a full day, to a full week, recognizing those signs and how to help people. Or even yourself, like how are you doing? How are you managing your stress?
Yep, and like she just said right now, everyday stresses and challenges.
Mhm.
If you're a farmer, right now harvest season's really busy. You're probably out on the field a lot, you're running grain back and forth, you're looking at the markets and wondering, how are things gonna go. That's all stresses that everybody deals with. And, that's the farmers, for example, but everybody has those stresses in life.
Yeah.
The real question is how are we working through those problems and are we able to manage them? So that's kind of where we get to daily habits. So some of the things that we always talk about to care for your mental health is getting good sleep. That is one of the biggest things that makes people overall healthy. You have to get good sleep in order to function at your fullest. Staying active. Are you walking? If you like to work out, are you working out regularly? Are you keeping in touch with your neighbors? Are you talking to your neighbors? Are you talking to your community, getting out and seeing people? And then taking breaks. Sometimes just needing a break can fix so many different things. Being able to acknowledge when you're really overwhelmed and you just need to breathe for a minute. That is one of the most important things that people don't notice or even realize is important.
It's important to remember that you can't fill from an empty cup. If you are not taking care of yourself and your well-being and seeing those stressors in yourself, you're not going to be as able to provide for those around you, whether that be your family, your job,
And then encouraging to check on yourself and others, like we were just saying. Ask yourself those questions. Am I feeling okay today? Am I sleeping all right? Am I eating good? Am I drinking enough water? Am I feeling just like I don't want to do anything today? Those are all the questions you can ask yourself, and also ask your friends. That's one of the biggest things we want you to take from this is it's okay to talk to your friends about how they're feeling and what's going on. It might be a little awkward at first when you first do it because talking about mental health can be an interesting topic if you haven't before. But just being a friend and just saying, hey, how are you doing today? How are you? I noticed you're a little sad today, or I've noticed you're a little down. What's going on? Those are simple things you can do to just check on people and make sure that they're doing okay.
And if you don't feel comfortable having some of those more difficult conversations, that's fine. That's why people like us exist. You can be, hey, I heard about this one resource, you don't have to tell me about it because we're all about confidentiality and respect. But just being able to say, I've got some links for you, just slide it over, easy. Because not everybody is comfortable talking about it. They should be, but there is that stigma.
now we're going to talk about some of the signs that we can see when it comes to feeling well. So, like Jess said earlier, everybody has bad days. Sometimes people just don't feel very good. They didn't sleep well. Maybe they're really stressed out. Stuff like that happens. What we start talking about is that long-term issue. So, what happened? There we go. So, the long-term problems of noticing when somebody's struggling. That could be losing interest in daily tasks, being a little more irritable. Maybe your friend that's always super happy and loves to giggle and joke with you is now all of a sudden really just not in a good mood and doesn't want to talk to anybody. Simple things like that are really good signs to know when somebody's having some issues. One of the things I wanted to bring up is the effect of stress on your body. So when we think about mental health, we always think about the brain and how we're feeling. But one thing that a lot of people don't understand is it actually affects your body too when you're more stressed out. Things like increased heart rate or blood pressures. People who have panic attacks, actually one of the biggest things that gets people to realize that it's a panic attack is they think they're having a heart attack. And that's because their pulse goes up, their blood pressure goes up, they start to huff and puff, they're sucking in a lot of air, and that's all the same signs of a heart attack. But what actually happens is they go to the hospital, they get all the levels checked, everybody's pushing they're coming in and doing all the tests and checking your heart to find out you're totally fine. We don't know what's going on here. That's when you can start thinking, well, maybe I had an anxiety attack. How was I feeling when this happened? It's simple things like that a lot of people don't realize. Your stomach. When I first was working through my mental health, I had so many stomach issues. It hurt all the time. I was having issues with just not being able to eat, not being able to go to the restroom the right way. Things like that. A lot of people might say, oh, it's just my gut, something's wrong, I ate something bad. But if you've been dealing with overall stress for a very long time, that's a really big sign that maybe there is something more going on. And
mine was all respiratory.
Yeah.
Like I had the flu, I want to say every other freaking month it felt like, because I was just so overwhelmed. My brain was so tired that my body was tired, and I was constantly sick. So that is a huge sign. If you know somebody who's constantly sick all the time and there's no way to explain it, might be something to look at.
Or aches and pains. I mean, we've all got them. We all, I worked in EMS for a long time. My knees and my back I'm paying for it now. But when you start having a lot of that going on, and you're also dealing with stress at the same time, it all works hand in hand. The body all works together. You just might not realize that that's what it is until maybe you do go to the doctor for what you feel like is a heart attack, and your doctor says, hey, listen, everything came back normal, but you've had this happen to you a lot. What's going on here? Is there something you're stressed about? Those are the things that we try to look for when people come to see us or they call us. If they say, man, I can't eat, I can't sleep, I feel like my heart is fluttering, it just never slows down. For us, if they've went through everything else and there's nothing wrong with them medically, that's when we step in and say, okay, well now it could be your mental health, and we didn't even know.
And it could be a cycle too, because when you're sick and you feel down, it stresses you out. Being sick is a stressor. So then you're getting sick because you're stressed, and then you're stressed because you're getting sick. So it could be a constant cycle that can be really hard to get out of.
Definitely. Another thing that you might see in people, unfortunately, we see it a lot, is drinking. We see drinking as socially normal in Iowa, and that's okay. It's okay to drink moderately and have a good time. There's nothing wrong with that. But what we do see is people who, when they start to struggle with their mental health, they start to drink more. And just kind of wanted to point out, what's normal drinking? That's something a lot of people really don't know or have maybe never asked. So that's, for most people, it's 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks for men. And now a drink is considered a 12-ounce beer, 5 ounces of wine, or 1.5 ounces of spirits. So if you are not doing mentally well and you're down in the 6-pack every night, that's probably a good sign there's something going on.
Now don't tell your doctor that we said 1 drink a day is okay either, because my VA doctor would look at me and be like, really? But yes,
So yes.
It is normal for where we live and the region we're in, and
Yeah, and the big thing is, if you're doing it maybe on the weekend and you're at a that's okay. People know that happens. There's nothing wrong with that. It's when we start doing it every single day that's when we start getting into concerns. And just being able to check in with yourself and say, hey, is my drinking okay? You know, am I doing it too much, too little? There's nothing wrong with a little
Ask yourself
self-reflection.
why you're doing it. Are you drinking after work? Because maybe if you're not a drinker at all, one drink a day could be a lot for you. So are you doing it because you like the taste and it makes you feel relaxed after work? Or are you doing it because you had a really long day and you know what? Nothing else is just gonna hit right. Like, there are some good, deep questions to ask yourself. It's not only, am I okay, but why am I doing this? Because sometimes I'll go home and have a glass of wine because I'm having spaghetti. And I like to dance in my kitchen and drink wine while I make spaghetti. It's a thing. But that's a totally normal circumstance. If I go home and I pull out the bottle of wine and I'm sitting on the couch chugging it, there's probably a different reason.
Definitely. So, you know, warning signs of a crisis. Some of the things that we try to catch when we are out working with people that we kind of know, okay, well, there's something going on here that we need to be able to help them with. Some of the bigger ones are increased depression. Maybe they're sad. They're not sleeping well. They're just kind of, their overall mood is just a little bit down. And it's been like that for a little bit. That's one of the bigger signs that we see. Increased anxiety.
Yeah.
Maybe they're really anxious about going to the store, or they're anxious about having family come over, or having friends come over. They might become more isolated.
They don't want to leave their house.
Yeah.
The activities they used to enjoy are no longer fun. They actively avoid if the doorbell rings or the phone rings, you know, and it's somebody you could get a hold of all the time, and now all of a sudden they're just shoulders slumped, sitting in their house, not wanting to do anything, not walking their dog.
On a personal level, maybe it's increased thoughts of suicide. I mean, I know that's a really heavy thing to hear. Suicide's something that a lot of people don't want to talk about. It's something that is a scary conversation, and even for us sometimes it can be a scary conversation. But having the acknowledgement of, I'm having these thoughts and I don't like them, that is one step that we can be able to help you get through that. That is one of the bigger signs of a crisis, where if we're having increased thoughts of suicide or self-harm, that's when we start to really step in and we want to be able to help you.
And we call it SI, suicidal ideation. It's just an idea in your head. You're not wanting to act on it, because sometimes, you know, the idea is, the wording can seem different to different people. And that can be brief, you know, oh my God, I feel like if I just turn my car this way, or what would happen if you hear somebody say, you know, somebody would be better off without me. That kind of lets you know that some of those thoughts might be brewing, or those ideas might be brewing.
And when you first hear it, even through all my years of working in healthcare and all the years of working here, when you do hear someone say it, even when you're a seasoned veteran of hearing it, it is a scary feeling.
It is.
What makes it better, though, is knowing how to help that person.
Yes. And there is a difference between asking somebody, are you going to hurt yourself? Because their idea of hurting themselves could be completely different than actual suicide. They might be a cutter, or they might do something physically to themselves, and that's how they relieve stress. Well, if you say, are you going to hurt yourself? And they're like, yes. Or that's what they mean, and they don't mean suicide. Or maybe they don't think that suicide is hurting themselves. They're actively planning to kill themselves. That's not hurting them. They're done. They won't hurt anymore. So that's why verbiage can be very important too. It's a hard question. I have to ask it on a regular basis at work. But you know what I always say? This is a tough question, and I know some people don't want to hear it. I don't always want to ask it, but do you have, you know, suicidal ideations? Do you have thoughts of killing yourself or harming yourself? Sometimes being blunt can shock them into telling you the truth. It's weird, but it does sometimes work, because they're not expecting you to ask those hard questions. They're expecting you to dance around it, which gives them an out.
And sometimes it actually even puts them into the
Right,
mood of
frame,
wanting
like,
help.
oh gosh,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to do that, but that's where I was leading.
Yeah, it can be very scary, but that's why we want to be able to help you guys by offering this conversation right now, giving support to people where they need it, being able to talk about what's going on, giving resources to how it can work, resources as to how we can help. You know, that's why we're here. We want to be able to help you guys with anything, whether it's on a personal level or with a friend. If you notice something's going on with yourself or with a friend and it just doesn't seem off, be supportive, listen to what they have to say, and do what you can, whether that's calling us so we can help them, or if it's really scary and you just don't really know what to do anymore, even calling 911.
Yes.
You know, we're we're going to talk about how we can help and where we can assist people with that. But also, just if you really just don't know, we're always going to tell you to call 911 and they will help you where they can. Whether that be calling us themselves. Sometimes
Yeah.
we get phone calls from the dispatch center that just says, hey,
We
we don't know what to do with this. But
EMS,
yeah.
fire departments, police officers, they're like, we just need somebody to come here and talk to this person.
So definitely, that's the biggest thing is offering support and just starting a conversation with somebody. If you notice they're just feeling a little off or something like that, hey, are you doing okay? How are you doing? What's going on? So the next one we're going to talk about is youth mental health. Now this one is a bit of a touchy subject because unfortunately, youth mental health is something that us older people, adults, just may not understand because they face different challenges. They're dealing with social media. They're dealing with friend groups and coming into their own as they get up into the teenage years. Maybe they're working. Maybe they're in sports and they're in groups and
Trying to figure out their identity.
yes,
That's a
trying to
big
figure out
thing
who
now.
they are just in general.
Mhm.
That's a lot of stress that as we get older, we may not have remembered, or we may not remember what that was like. And
We didn't
it's a
have the
completely,
stuff that
it's a
they had.
completely, yes, it's a
Yeah,
completely
we're
different world.
completely different ages and grew up like I was pre-cell phones.
Yeah.
I still had dial-up.
So one of the big things that I want to bring up about that is social media. So one of the things that they've actually found is that on average, teens are spending about 3.5 hours a day on social media. Doesn't sound terrible when you put it in context, but the big kicker is that spending more than 3 hours a day on social media doubles your risk of mental health issues, including depression, anxiety, and other conditions like that. So teens on average are spending half an hour more than what they should be on social media to begin with. And who knows what they're seeing from there. It could be friends bullying them online. It could be just the stresses of the world. And
Looking at people who aren't like them and
Yeah.
saying, why am I not like that? Why don't I have this? My family's not like that.
Mhm.
It's a lot of pressure with the youth, and it's easier for them to judge themselves based on what other people have because they can see it now. When I was growing up, I couldn't see what everybody else had, so I thought life was gravy. And if I were to grow up now and see all of that, I mean, it could affect how you are. It's hard.
And while they're going through all of this, their brains are still developing. So what you and I see as stress, we can work with. We know how to work through those things. Even if you've never been in mental health, you know how to work through the problems of life because we've been there, we've experienced it. But their brains are still growing. So things that might seem minor to us, like my car's out of gas and I have $5. For us, we're gonna make that work. We know how to make that work. For a child, that's existential because now they don't have a way to get to school. Now they don't know how to get to their job. Now they don't know how to get to their friend's house. It may seem so minor to us, but for them, that is a true crisis of their mental health because their brains are still developing, so everything's at 100%.
And when you're a child, your first learning socializations is your school and your family. Now, depending upon their home life, that could add a whole nother aspect onto that.
Definitely. And so another thing that, like I said, they're amplified because their brains are developing. So they might not even understand exactly what's going on. Maybe they're just super anxious or they're maybe feeling a little depressed and their grades start slipping. Or they're not wanting to go play the sports that they used to play. Or they don't want to hang out with their friends. Or they're not sleeping right. Or maybe they're just angry and flying off the handle more than they usually do. For us and for parents, that's, oh, well, they're growing up, they have an attitude. But sometimes it could be a lot more than that, and we don't even realize what they're struggling with because we've never experienced the life that they're experiencing now. But the big thing is that we can still help them with that stuff. Our crisis team can help them. We work with kids every day. We work with them in a different way. There's different things we have to do, ways to talk to them. There's a lot of rapport building because kids are very hesitant. They'll tell you a lot up until about 12, 13 years old, and then after that, they like to wall off pretty good. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of growing up. But it takes a little more for us to be able to work with them on that.
It takes a little bit more for them to understand what's going on with themselves to allow us to help them too.
Definitely. And again, the stigma. Nobody wants to, it's hard to talk about mental health. And even harder for kids to talk about mental health. I will say the younger generations are a lot more open about their mental health than even my generation, Jessica's generation. It's definitely something that's transitioning, but it's still
It
a
is.
change.
Yeah, it's progress, but it's definitely nowhere near where it could be or should be, which is why we do things like that, like this, to help bring that awareness so that more people are willing to talk about it.
Perfect way to put that in. So now we'll talk about our crisis team. Jess, do you want to go ahead and start?
Sure. So our crisis team, we work on 3 different levels. We do mobile crisis, which is basically, well, not only what you do community-based and stuff like that. Basically what that means is we will get a call, and everything that we do is voluntary. So they have to say, yes, please come out. And we will go to your home, meet you at a community space, talk to you, talk through some stuff, go through some workbook type of stuff, maybe help assist you in some further services if needed, like therapy or clinicians or open access information. We also do in-home crisis stabilization. So I actually work at Turning Point in the house there. We have clients that come in that need 3 to 5 days just to reset. Sometimes where they're at or their mental state, they can't reframe their thinking because they're stuck in a place that keeps them there. So just coming somewhere, they see a clinician every single day, and we can kind of help them relearn their coping skills that they might have forgotten that they have. We also do over the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the crisis line that is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, holidays, weekends, you name it, we are there. And you can call, we can just talk to you over the phone about anything you want. You're having what you would consider a crisis. I can't tell you what your crisis is or if your crisis is one or not, because everybody is different. So we're there to talk you through it, kind of help you figure out what's going on and what we can do to help you help yourself, kind of assess it in a different way. And then we also do community-based services. So it's a lot like crisis stabilization, but we use that for juveniles and other people out in the community who can't come to the house for 5 days because they have a job, they have pets, they have medical reasons that stop them from being able to come. We can go to their house once a day. We have them meet with a clinician online, then we sit and we talk to them, we work on them through some stuff that they're going through. Yeah.
Yeah, so just kind of coming off of that there, our team started in 2016. So we've been around for just about 10 years. Before it got a little bit bigger and we've been coming out more, I've always said we're kind of a secret,
We are.
an awesome
I didn't know we
secret group of
existed
people
until I
that
started working
a
here.
lot of people don't realize, don't
I
realize
had
they
no idea.
exist. The majority of our clients, a lot of the times they're either coming from ERs, especially when we're
Mhm.
talking about Turning Point. They come from ERs or they come directly from our clinicians. So
Mhm.
if you haven't been at a Plains area office up until recently, there's a good chance you didn't know that we were here. But we are here and we love what we do, and our team expanded actually in 2024. Before it was just Turning Point and there was 2 staff there at the time, and they did that for about 10 years. Last year we expanded into the north part of our region. So I'm part of the north team. We're based out of Cherokee. We do work from home. So we cover Plymouth County, Cherokee County, Beebe County, Ida County, and parts of Sac County. Just kind of depends on where everybody's available. And we can float from there as well. We started that again in 2016. And the crisis team in Sac City has also expanded to 3 people during the day. So they're
Yes.
able to be more available and more
We're able to
responsive.
do more mobile and community-based on the southern part.
So as Jess was saying, as responding to concerns, we work in a bunch of different ways.
Oh,
One
yeah.
of the big things I wanted to point out today is I'm actually kind of dressed up for my job.
He's very dressed up. I actually was like, oh my god, he's not in cargo pants.
Yes, so one of the big things that we really like to push is we try to come in plain street clothing as much as we can. Because one thing that a lot of people who have struggled with mental health for a long period of time kind of ramps their anxiety up is when they see people in uniforms, when they see people in scrubs, things like that. It tends to kind of make them a little anxious and even a little dressed up if they've been through therapy. It tends to make them a little more anxious because, somebody in a uniform might handle something differently than we do. Somebody in scrubs might handle things differently. When we come in plain street clothes, it makes them a little more comfortable, a little more at ease, and more willing to talk to us.
More open.
Definitely. So Jess is probably what most people wear on a daily
Yes,
basis.
I saw several clients today, so this is what I wore.
And I'm a little more dressed up because I didn't have much going on today. But
Yes.
otherwise, we usually try to come in plain street clothes to make people comfortable. She did talk about the crisis line. All of our services in general are always free.
Yes.
We work with the state. We have grants through the state to be able to offer our services at no cost to the clients. We do bill insurance when we need to, but then whatever insurance doesn't kick in, there's grants and state programs to help us pay for that. So our services are always free.
Mhm.
They're always available. We're always around 24/7, 365, and especially the crisis line, we are always there, and it's always confidential as well. You will-
Always.
whatever we say will always stay with us. So that kind of jumps into how you can reach us. So as we said, you can call us at our crisis line. That is 24/7. That is the 800 or the 888 number. We also can be patched in through 988. So the way that works is that is the crisis, the suicide
Suicide.
line. And if they get a call through the suicide line that's in our area, if they feel like we can take care of it, they will actually patch it into us instead. So whether you call 988 or you call our direct 888 line, there is a good chance you will talk to one of us. You can visit our offices. We have 7 offices throughout the area, or throughout Northwest Iowa. Your closest is Ida Grove.
Mhm.
Denison also has an office. And the nice part about that is if you do go to our offices, we do what's called open access. So with open access, you do not have to have an appointment to come and see a therapist on your first visit. You come in, you fill out a bunch of paperwork, they get you with a therapist, they can help you get diagnosed, and then from there they'll set you up with an appointment.
And a lot of times they'll actually set you up with the crisis line to call and do check-ins until you're able to see a clinician if there is a waiting period, so somebody is checking in on you. It's actually really nice.
And in the event you are in a crisis when you go to an office, they will contact us directly to come see you that day. So if you are in a crisis and you do need help right away, you can either call that 888 number or you can go to an office and we will be there for you to be able to help
If
you.
we can't come in person, I have done many a Zoom with somebody in a clinician's office to talk to them until somebody can be there on scene too. So lots of different ways that we can contribute.
So now mobile crisis, this is kind of my bread and butter. This is what I actually do for
Yes.
most of my days now, working on the North team, is we do what's called mobile crisis. So if you call our crisis line and you're talking to somebody or you had a friend call and they say, I really just need somebody to talk to. This isn't really working. Well, luckily we have what's called mobile crisis. And so what we'll do is they will dispatch us from Sac City. They will send whichever team is closest to that. And we will physically come out to you, we will sit with you and talk to you as long as you need to. We will help you figure out resources and what your next steps are. Whether that's going to the hospital because we really need you to get some help right now, or going to the crisis home, whether that be community-based or at the crisis home, we can help you from there. Or if it's just, hey, we need to go, I want to start therapy. Well, we can help you get that stuff set up too. That's available, again, 24/7, 365. We are always there for that as well. We have on-call teams, so we might be a little delayed, but our goal is always to be to you within 1 hour of calling us.
Yes.
And then there's also some online resources that we can do. On our website, we have a mental health checkup. It's the first thing you see when you get onto the website. It asks you a group of questions, and it'll give you an idea of where your mental health is sitting at. From there, you can, after you're done doing the test, it'll actually give you a link to set up an appointment or to call if you need to do that. So that's also an option. There's plenty of other online resources, such as just looking up general questions about mental health. Google has done amazing.
I print off worksheets off of Google for clients all the
Yes.
time. Some of my favorites are gratitude and other like grounding techniques. Google is a great resource for this kind of stuff.
What's even better about Google too is that if somebody asks Google a question that may flag that there's something going on, Google will actually tell you, if you need help, call 988.
Yes.
That is an amazing thing that Google has done. I'm sure it saved lives at some point.
And for the younger generation, that Chat GPT does the same thing
It will
too
do the
now.
same thing. So again, there's always some hiccups with tech. You got to be a little bit careful, but there's always, if I it does feel like there's a lot of different options that help you when you're in a
Yes.
struggle or you're in a crisis. There's other ways to be able to.
As much as technology has kind of helped perpetuate a little bit more anxiety and stress on people, it has also brought so many resources to us. So it's very much a catch-22.
And again, like I said, always free and always confidential. Whenever you talk to us, we will always keep whatever you say between you and I. Obviously, there could be some emergency situations where we have to, disclose situations to the police and things like that. But as long as you're safe and you're healthy and we can take care of you, whatever you say to us will always stay between
Yes.
you and our team.
Alright.
Okay, so community resources. As I said, there's 7 locations throughout western Iowa. Your closest is Ida Grove. The resources that I talked about. And then tips for checking in with people. The biggest thing is just starting a conversation.
Yeah.
Just being a neighbor. Just saying, hey, how are you doing? How have you been? That is one way that you can quickly gauge how people are doing.
And open-ended questions are great. Because if you say, how are you? Fine. Or a yes or no question, you're not really going to get a lot out of them. But open-ended questions kind of help them think a little bit and help you guys have a conversation.
Definitely. And then just noticing changes in mood. Again, that kind of comes back to what I said earlier. If you have a friend who's always super giddy, super excited to see people, and now they're a little bit more quiet, a little more reserved, maybe they're not coming to the events they used to go to, that's a really good sign that something might be going on. And
It never hurts to ask, but it can hurt to not ask.
definitely. The biggest thing is also just offering help without judgment. It's okay to feel scared when somebody tells you something that is heavy, like talking about suicide. That is very scary to hear. What's important though is coming at anything they bring to you without judgment and offering the resources that they can use to be able to get through that. Whether that be telling them, I think you should go see a therapist, or hey, I went to this library meeting with 5 people at it, and these 2 people sat up there for 45 minutes and talked about things that I've never talked about, but I got this fancy card here while I was there. Maybe you should call this number and talk to them. Talking to kids is the same way. It's just, hey, I've noticed you're a little bit more sad today. Or, I noticed you haven't been eating as much as you usually do. Is everything okay? Those kind of questions can tell you a lot about where somebody's at with their mental health.
And pay attention to their answers. If they say they're fine, but they're shuffling their feet and looking down or hunched shoulders, it doesn't hurt sometimes, like I said, the open-ended questions to dig a little deeper. Because if they say, oh, I'm perfectly fine, and they're not participating in the conversation, that could be a clue too, that maybe some extra assistance is needed. And you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be the one that they open up to. But you know what? You can be the one to give them the resources of somebody who can get them to open up.
Definitely. And, kind of piggybacking off of that, one of the big things I know us Midwesterners like to say is we're living the dream.
Yeah.
And that's usually it's a joke, but also some people when they're struggling, they might make jokes like that. I'm just living the dream. That's why we want to make sure we're kind of tapping a little bit deeper if we feel like something's going on. Okay, well, how are we really doing?
Don't listen to hear, listen to understand.
Yep.
That's also another great phrase, because you can hear them say, oh, I'm living the dream, and you're like, okay, I heard what I wanted. But you're not understanding what's underneath it.
Definitely. That's I always like to use that one because we hear it all the time.
Yeah.
But sometimes it might mean more than what we think it does. Okay, so we went through a lot. Went through it kind of quick. I do appreciate you guys coming through with us. This is the first time we've done
Yes.
this, so a little bit of jitters between the 2 of us. But is there any questions or just
Yeah.
general discussions? We'd love to hear from you guys.
If we went over anything too fast, sometimes I know that I can talk very, very quickly. I apologize for that. We can go over anything again.
Wait, there, who's in charge?
So Kim Kelcher is our CEO. She's been there for over almost a decade, just about as long as Turning Point has been around. Our director for the crisis services, her name is Ashley. She's been there as long as Turning Point has been open. She was one of the first people to come work there. And then from there we have supervisors. Hector is the South Team supervisor, and Brian is our North Team supervisor.
Who's the CEO answer to?
She answers to the board.
Right? The board in the state, I would assume.
We have a board of
because we
directors.
have-
State director.
Yeah, we would, working in mental health, we have to abide by the same, laws and acts that anybody in mental health is. So, yes, since we are state funded, we definitely have to answer to some people on some state levels, for sure.
we also have a board of directors who
Mhm.
make decisions on finances and things like that. So
Well above our.
yeah, way above what we
Yeah.
deal with on a daily
Yes.
basis. That's a lot of kin there.
I know, recently, governments, we're chopping here, chopping there, cause we're cutting waste and stuff. And that's always been my concern too, is mental health always seems to be the thing that's always avoided. And yet you guys sound like you're increasing.
We're trying
So-
to.
We're trying to get the word out. So they have done some restructuring and things like that to make sure that we can still maintain the quality of care that is needed. Unfortunately, living somewhere like Iowa, rural communities really do have a hard time accessing that. And that's just because of where we live. It's hard for transportation. Some people don't have access to the internet to do the Zoom meetings. But it's all things like this and people like us advocating that these services are needed, that they're used, those all help bring hopefully those numbers up. And the more people that talk about it, the less it's stigmatized, because in small communities, nobody wants to talk about that one person who was injured. But you know what? One person in a small town that commits suicide, that affects the entire town. It really does. We have a lot of boys coming back from the military. I see that you have a proud mom. I was a veteran. It's hard. So yes, I think that's just one of those things, the more we talk about it, the more people know that these services are available, the more people that are utilizing these services, getting the help that they need. Really, awareness will help with a lot of that.
One of the things I'll kind of piggyback on with that is you said that there's been issues with funding and things like that. Working on the mobile crisis and the community-based team, I work with children a lot more than I do adults. Mostly because there's not a lot of resources for kids right now. I think it's kind of on the uphill. I think things are starting to get a little bit better. But I mean, at one point I think we were 51st in bed availability for kids, for
Mhm.
inpatient units. That's a rough number to have to craft. So
Unfortunately, we're still pretty down there.
yeah, so there's a lot of work to be had.
Yes.
But that's why our team is here, because we can work with kids who maybe they don't need to go to an inpatient unit, but maybe they don't have all of the help that they need right now, or maybe they haven't been to therapy before. That's where we can step in and help get them put together and get them set up so then they can be able to be more mentally healthy in the long term. But yes, there's definitely some big restructuring happening. There's a lot more resources coming into us. Clearly, I don't think anybody's going to say we wouldn't like to see more. We would
Oh
love
yes,
to be able to
everybody
see
wants
more.
more.
But I do believe that there is going to be a slow uphill tick from it.
It is. It's progress. It might not be the progress that people want to see right away, but things take work. Things take funding. Yes, but we are making progress.
It's a
Like
culture
he
shift.
said, we've grown. The North team didn't exist when I first started, so we are definitely expanding.
And it's a culture shift too.
It
I mean,
is.
We live in a state where there's a lot of farmers, there's a lot of older generation people where we didn't talk about mental health. It
Nope.
just was something that
We
was
rubbed some
not.
dirt on it and went about
Keep
our
on
day.
going. And farmers, even when I worked in EMS, farmers are some of the hardest people to
To convince to go anywhere.
yes, to convince to
Yes.
go anywhere, whether
They
it's-
super glue it instead of stitches. Are you
Yes.
kidding me? So they're not going to go anywhere for their mental health.
Exactly. I
So
remember
we're trying. We're trying.
I remember when I worked in EMS, if we ever got called to a farmhouse, we knew that it was going to
Oh,
be a
yeah.
rough one because they don't call 911 for anything.
Mm-mm.
And so it's the same way with mental health. It's a stigma thing, it's a pride thing, and it's okay to have those, but our big goal is to change that in time so
Yeah.
people can get the help.
Because we want you to be healthy. We want you to be integrated in our communities. That's how we keep our communities strong. That's how we keep Iowa growing.
Especially our farmers.
Yes.
Unfortunately, farmers have a very high suicide rate. It's actually about at the same level as healthcare providers, which is
It's
scary to see.
because everything they do year to year, you don't know.
Exactly.
It's very much an
it's all a
uncertainty.
crapshoot.
Yeah.
And so farmers struggle a lot with mental health, and unfortunately, farmers are also the ones who probably need the help the most, but may not ask for it. So that's why we want to come out to these small communities and let people know it's okay to talk about what's going on. It's okay to talk about the stresses of the life.
We all have them.
Yeah.
It's
I haven't
about
worked in
learning
farming.
what to do so they don't build up so much that you feel like you have no other way out.
I've never worked in farming, but I've definitely been through my struggles, and struggle is hard for anybody, no matter
Yes.
what you're going through.
And we can help you with resources like food banks. We know information like that. Places you can go for financial assistance. If you're getting kicked out of your house and you need rent. Like, these are all big life stressors. And some people, something like that happens, they don't know where to go. So you call someone like this, if I don't know the answer, I'll find it for you. I'll do my own Googling. You don't have a phone, that's fine. We'll sit and we'll do it together. That's what we're here for.
So you said, Turning Point and it's Plains area, so tell me how that works, like is Turning Point a part of Plains area?
Yes, so
It
Turning
is a
Point,
part.
So Turning Point is, Plains Area is the overall company in the agency. They're the ones that we have therapy, we have medication management. Crisis services is actually a, department within the team. And
Yes.
so,
But we don't just serve Plains area mental health clients.
we can
Okay.
serve
Yes.
anybody within our region.
Anybody in the area. You can be coming from Seasons, or like we have people from
Esterville, Spencer.
Fort Dodge. We've had people come from Ames. Like it's all about, what you need, and we have the availability to assist. If we have the bed available and you're in our crisis region, then yes.
Now, for the community-based crisis services and mobile crisis, you do need to live within our region of,
Mhm.
the 7 or the 11 counties that we cover.
Which you can find actually online too.
Yeah, I should
Yeah.
have put it on here.
Yeah, I have a little color-coded map at work where I can tell you, you know what, I don't have the mobile crisis for that,
But we
but
use
I have the
someone-
phone number for that mobile crisis, and I will call them and have them get in contact with you.
Now for Odebolt and the surrounding areas, if you do contact crisis
You'll get
services,
us.
you'll get us.
Yep.
You won't get any other
There's a
team
good
but us.
likelihood you'll talk to me on the phone, or he will come out to your house, or I'll come out to your house, or one of our other, fellow crisis counselors.
But yes, Turning Point is a part of Plains area.
And did you say that's 5 bed?
What's that?
5 bed.
5 days.
5 days stay, 3 to
5 days.
5 stay, yes. Our
Okay.
max is 5 because we are not inpatient, we don't have, obviously hospital staff or anything like that. We're just more of a to get you over the hump kind of thing. And you do have to have a referral to come, you can't just knock on the door and show up, but there are several ways to get a referral. If you know somebody or you are needing any sort of stabilization, you can do it through MCAT services. All you have to do is call the crisis line, we can send somebody out, they can do an assessment. You can do it through your ER, go in for an assessment, they can decide, if you don't need inpatient stay, but you need somewhere to go. We do have some criteria, but we're pretty, we work with you pretty well. You just have to have a mental health crisis going on, and then a clear discharge plan. You have to come with all of your own medications, but it's completely voluntary. If you get there and you're there for a day and you're like, you know what, this isn't for me, that's okay. That's perfectly fine, because not every situation is going to be perfect for every person. Mental health isn't cookie cutter. Then you can leave and we'll take you home.
Or we'll help you find what you need next.
Yes. And nobody leaves Turning Point without follow-up appointments. We make sure that all of your appointments are taken care of. That way there's somebody checking in. We actually check in with you for 90 days with all of our clients after their stays, after their MCAT services. We don't just leave you high and dry when your services are complete.
That's awesome, 'cause I feel like that's the part where
It's a follow-through, and that's
Yeah.
really, really important. We
Yeah.
want to make sure that you're maintaining those coping skills. If you're still having some difficulties, we can talk you through them. We can send somebody out. We've had people come back to the house after a couple months, because you know what? Another life event happened, and they're still new to those resources, and they just need a little extra, and that's perfectly fine too. Any other questions? Sorry, probably talked too much there.
No, that's great.
So when you talk about med management, is that a psychiatrist?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. We have, I think 2 doctors and 3 PAs.
Okay.
And they're specifically trained in psychiatric medications.
They will meet with you via Zoom, go through all your medications, talk to you about the problems you're having, things like that, anything that you think that you need to fix. They might explain to you why some of the meds are making you feel the way they feel, because maybe it's normal, maybe it's not.
Now you guys work in healthcare, so you obviously know.
Yeah.
Doctors are in very short supply right now.
Yeah.
So we have clinicians, we have psychiatrists, their schedules are pretty full, but if
We have amazing people that do on-call for us too on the weekends, so we always have somebody hopefully available.
And if you come to us and you need help with your medications, especially psychiatric medications, we will get you.
Yes, we will get you an appointment.
Any other questions?
I don't think so.
You guys want to do another breathing exercise after?
I
all
feel
that?
like we
Well,
should. I
actually-
feel a little amped up now.
Okay, so we'll do one more and then you
Yeah,
guys are welcome to
couple
go.
deep breaths.
So, yep, big thing, feet on the floor, square. And we'll take one deep breath in.
I close my eyes.
You guys
I
do-
like to picture myself barefoot because I'm very into like grounding, like especially outside. That is a great way to recenter yourself.
We love doing that at Turning Point.
Yes.
We make you take your shoes off and go step out in our yard.
In the grass. Not in the winter, that'd be a little mean. I don't like that. Not me. I will not do that with you. But yeah.
You guys did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Really,
Oh,
really
good.
Very good.
Thank you for coming out.
Yes, thank you. Actually, that was way more fun than.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't think it was going to be fun, but you know, for our first time, it was like, oh gosh.
So I had a little jitters coming in, but
Oh yeah.
I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad you guys came to listen to us today.
Yeah.
And again, if you guys ever have any questions, do not hesitate to call us. Whether it's a mental health issue or just a general question about the team. I mean, our team loves to talk about this. We love to.
We love to talk, so we get paid for it.
We do. We get paid to talk to people. We get paid to make you guys comfortable. So if you ever need more help, don't ever hesitate to reach out.
We
We've
do
got-
have several different
we've got
flyers.
flyers out
I believe
here,
the cards have the
stickers.
QR code on the back.
Yep, we've got flyers, stickers, and cards with our number on them. So
Yes.
take as much as you'd like. Trust me, we have.
If you
plenty.
ever know of anywhere that needs more resources, all you have to do is contact us and we can get a hold of Ashley and have little bundles sent. We do that for the schools and other places. If you know, like I think in Storm Lake they have like activities where they have fairs with booths and stuff like that. Usually you'll find someone from our team there too. So yeah.
And if you know of somebody who wants something like this to be done again, we are more than happy to come.
Yes.
Okay.
The more places we can go and talk, the better.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you guys.
Thank you
Appreciate it.
very